Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. You'll get 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Plus, enjoy access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection. And with the welcome offer of 150,000 points, your business can soar to all new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
Don't you love it when things are both easier and more affordable? Like when the rain washes your car for you. Or like when you save up to 10% by bundling your renters and auto insurance with USAA. Bundle with USAA and start saving. Get a quote today.
Hello and welcome to episode 42 of Flixwatcher Podcast. In this episode of Flixwatcher Podcast, we're going to be talking about Paris is Burning, and this inspired pretty much a lot of what you see in RuPaul's Drag Race, which is one of Netflix's biggest shows, as chosen by James and Dan from the fantastic podcast A Gay and a Non-Gay.
We are, of course, on iTunes, where you can subscribe and leave us a lovely review. You can also find us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod. Come say hi, give us a tweet, and visit the website flixwatcher.tv for full listings of each episode. As always, films reviewed in this podcast were available to stream on Netflix UK at the time of recording. There may be bad language and there may be spoilers. You have been warned.
So this episode of Flixwatcher Podcast has been brought to you by Geo Productions, and I have to say a massive thanks to Geo Productions. They've been holding my hand on Flixwatcher with Helen and I with their superb sexual editing skills. They're producing podcasters and helping podcasters like ourselves, helping us sound awesome. So we really want to big you guys up. And they said, if anyone out there wants to be a podcaster and wants their help, then reach out to them, podcast@glpro.co.uk, and tell them that Flixwatcher sent you. And you'll get 10% off your first package, off your first order. So you've got nothing to lose. Hey guys, it's Kobe here, and I'm joined always by Helen.
Hello.
And today we're joined by James.
Hello.
And Dan.
Hi.
And we're going to be talking about Paris is Burning today.
We are indeed.
And these guys are from A Gay and a Non-Gay podcast.
That's right. We actually are a gay and a non-gay as well.
Yeah.
As well as being from the podcast, A Gay and a Non-Gay.
Yeah. do you want us to tell you about the podcast?
Do you want us to say which one's which?
No, it's all right now.
Maybe it's probably obvious which one is which. Which one of us is which? I mean, as in which one is the gay and which one is it? Does that matter?
How's that obvious?
Oh, thank you for saying that.
Well, maybe it's not.
Well, I mean, one of us is sat here with what are they called? Board shorts on.
Yeah.
And a New York t-shirt. The other one is wearing a bright blue pink top.
The problem with that description is that it's very visual.
That is also very visual.
And we are on a podcast here.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
In fact, we have actually gone into the show for proper, haven't we?
We have, yes.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so we can't see what I can see what you're wearing.
You can.
But
I have a feeling it will become clear during the course of the podcast.
But I guess the listeners can play a game in their heads as they're listening to try and work it out.
Play with a friend and the winner gets a prize.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, guys, give yourself a proper introduction. Say what your name is properly and where they can find you on Twitter.
Great.
Yeah, we are A Gay and a Non-Gay. You can find us on Twitter at Gay Non-Gay and Instagram Gay Non-Gay. And you can check us out at Gay Non-Gay. There's a recurring theme here. GayNonGay.com.
And despite what we were just saying, we're actually a very inclusive podcast. And we believe that differences are irrelevant and that we're all the same. We're all human. We're very inclusive. We believe that we're a family. And Dan and I have sort of been on a bit of a journey together in working out if there are differences between homosexual and heterosexual people, and we talk about lots of social issues, but we do it whilst trying to be funny.
It is a funny show. I was laughing a lot, and you've listened to a few shows as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
and we've just been nominated for a podcast award in America.
So
we're
fantastic.
really excited.
So
about
you guys were nominated for the British Podcast Award, of course.
Yep, and now the US podcast awards.
What is it you've been nominated for?
We're in the LGBT category.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Although I don't know how Dan squeezed in. They should have just cut you out and nominated me.
Yeah.
Oh, we gave the game away.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. Actually, I don't know how we got nominated for anything. You've heard the show, but
You probably read the Radio Times and think, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I have no idea either. It's crazy, but I think the best thing about it is it just proves that like being yourself it will leads you into the right place. Like you have to be true to you.
Absolutely.
And that's all we're doing really. So we're really happy about it.
Yeah.
was so happy.
So we're here talking today about Paris is Burning, which is your choice, James. So what we'd like you to do is give a synopsis of the film.
Yep.
Tell us why you chose it.
Okay.
And then we'll start the chat about it.
Well, I was going to choose The Babadook, which is a horror film and has become a gay icon.
Oh, really?
Year. Yeah.
How so?
Well, because a Tumblr account started talking about the themes in the film and how this crazy monster lives inside a closet and the family want to get rid of it. So they were like, oh, this is so gay. And then Netflix accidentally put it in the LGBT category and someone screenshot it and it just became this huge gay icon. So the Babadook has been going around to all the prides across the world this year. People dressed as the Babadook. So I was like, yeah, we should watch that. But I can't watch horror. It scares me so much.
And
So you've not seen it then?
no, I watched 10 minutes and I was like, I'm done. I can't do this.
that's not even any of the scary part in the first 10 minutes.
No, but you can feel the tension.
I've seen the Babadook and it freaked me the fuck out.
Did it?
It's great.
It's a fantastic
You both
film.
love that film. Well, so sorry we're not doing that.
No, it's all right.
Sorry, everyone. It does look great. I just can't do it. What can you tell me? Can you spoil how it ends? Just though.
No, not in this. I think we can spoil what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay,
now.
right. But we'll save that. You'll save it for another week. Well, okay. So I chose Paris is Burning because literally every single gay person I know has said to me, "Have you seen Paris is Burning?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't seen it." So I was like, "This is the one. This is the film I should watch." And it's actually amazing. It really taught me a lot because I didn't realize so many of the things that I talked about in that film, even that old, just like turns of phrase and stuff. Like I didn't realize they came from this or before that film was made. I thought they were from RuPaul's Drag Race.
Sure.
So we'll get into that. But the synopsis of the movie is basically it's a documentary about 1980s New York. It came out in the early 90s and it's about the ballroom culture in New York at that time. And I also thought it'd be really interesting for Dan to watch it because Dan has said to me previously that he doesn't really get drag queens. Is that correct, Dan? I don't want to misquote you. I think you also said you were scared of them, but again, I don't want to misquote you.
No, that last bit is something that you've invented. You want that to be true.
No, I
basically,
don't.
so
I
you
don't want that. No, I don't. Well, maybe it would be funny.
Well, I don't know how to say that. Yeah, I guess I just don't really understand what the deal is. But now I do because I've just watched Paris.
Because he's watched Paris.
So do you fully understand the deal after watching 78 minutes worth of a documentary and understand what it's about now?
Yeah, because before I guess I just find what's the word?
Dressing up?
No,
these are the moments that I love in our podcast where Dan digs himself a huge hole.
Can we have some clues as to what this word is to do with?
I don't know. Leave him alone for 5 minutes and he'll come out with it. What is it you're trying to say?
Sort of.
No.
I don't like innuendo, like particularly. I don't think it's that funny. I don't know.
So
that's not what. I guess.
I'll just speak for Dan as I do on
Can
a
I-
lot of
please,
things. I think Dan's issue.
What about like Carry On films? Innuendo in that, is that acceptable?
It's just not fun. To me, I just don't find that funny.
But drag queens aren't necessarily using innuendo.
Well, I realize that now, but everything that I have seen.
So you've been to like gay clubs and seen drag queens.
Yeah,
performing, right?
and it's just been like a lot of innuendo, which I just didn't think was very funny or clever.
So you're basing this off Dame Edna Everage. And,
basically. Yeah,
and
that's where I'm at. Well, that's where I was at.
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, I would argue that innuendo is not just used by drag queens. Like it's used everywhere. Innuendo is not something that I would say is specifically a drag queen thing. Like it's all over the place. It's on radio stations. It's on television
it's on the
everywhere.
tube,
It's in movies.
it's
It's
everywhere.
on the tube. It's in your phone. You use it often on our podcast.
Yeah, but I use it in moderation.
Oh, please. That's not moderation. So it's okay in moderation, but drag queens don't use it in moderation.
Innuendo bingo is funny mainly because it's kind of in moderation.
I mean, it goes on for a little bit long. Play a song, Scott.
How old are you guys, out of interest?
28.
So this is, I mean, there was a lot, it was that whole kind of Carry On and Are You Being Served thing was massive kind of innuendo.
Very much so, yeah. That's true. But they're not
Base,
drag queens, so I don't know why you're saying that. I'm not sure Dan means innuendo. I think...
No, I do, but I just don't know how to say it because it's just going to sound homophobic, isn't it?
You're not home.
I just didn't understand. Like when I've seen it and I've been in like clubs and drag actors come out and it's been just kind of loads of like sex jokes that to me are just really obvious and not funny. I just think I'm not like, it's not like a criticism. It's just like I'm going to go home. Like, I don't think this is
I
funny.
mean, stand-up is a load of sex jokes.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stand-up that isn't funny.
So it's not the fact that it's nothing to do with a man dressing up as a woman.
No.
It's nothing to do with that.
Well,
It's
no.
more
what-
like the cabaret kind of side of it then. That
It's-
kind of performance.
yeah,
On one of your podcasts, I remember you talking about wanting to be as far away from a pub playing football as possible.
yeah.
So I can kind of try and see what you're trying to say. For you, it just doesn't sit right, and you can't explain why it's not for you. And it's not that you're being homophobic. It's not that you don't like football. It's just like for you, when you're in that situation, just like, not for me. I'm off now.
And Dan
Yeah.
is definitely the least homophobic person I think I've ever met.
And it's nothing to do with a man dressing up as a woman, because I'd happily, I'd love going to see people like Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, of
Who
course.
is that?
You know what? You're right, because that's rock music and you're into that. But I'm not suggesting you're homophobic, but you could still be not interested in it because of certain things like that. That doesn't make you homophobic. So I'm just trying to get to the bottom of why you disliked at that point drag so much.
But even like, so onto the film, in the film Paris is Burning, and all the acts that appear in that, the story behind it is amazing.
Yeah.
But if it was on round the corner now, it wouldn't
Be of
So
interest.
even after watching it, you feel like you would, because yes, getting back to the synopsis, it's basically a story of, it kind of helps you understand why people do drag, I guess, and it's amazing. I mean, it moves you. So having seen that, you wouldn't go and see drag now. Is that what you're saying? You'd still think, no, it's not my.
So explain to us why people do drag then, because I think in this story at that time in New York, mainly Harlem, isn't it? In New York,
Yeah.
in the mid 80s, a lot of the people that were drawn to the ballroom culture, because drag is portrayed as maybe like half of it, but then you have people who are wearing different costumes and things like that. But it was all a big show. A lot of it was people who were really young, had been abused in their lives, and just needed a place where they can all be themselves as much as possible.
Yeah.
And that completely makes sense in terms of, I want to be around people who I can be myself with. But maybe you're talking about, so if there's a drag show in Camden, you might think, come on.
Dan needs the backstory.
yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I need the backstory.
You need a backstory as to why they're doing it.
Yeah, because like in the film, the actual act of them doing it, if it was just a series of if the context was taken out of the film, basically, it was just the shows.
Yeah,
I would be sat there going, I don't really understand what this is.
One of my favorite moments, because I've written lots of notes and stuff having watched it, like
fantastic.
knowing we were about to do. Thank you. Knowing that we were going to talk about it so in-depthly. And it's not just LGBT people, I think, or issues that are explored. One of the things is that Black people, especially then in New York, were not able to be in more amazing jobs, perhaps. That's what this is said. And a quote was, Black people can't be an executive, but in the ballroom, you can.
Yeah.
So they dress up in executive business wear and they're like strutting their stuff down a ballroom. And then all the other queens are like, yes, you are so executive. And that's also amazing. Like, it's a way of people that feel like they're not allowed in real life because society has got its rules, expressing themselves and being free. And I would say that is probably what this movie is about.
Yeah, I think that a little bit more. And also, it's just this fantastic snapshot of an era that has slowly been eroded away, and there's becoming, especially in London as well, less opportunity for these things to happen and to be underground and have these places to go to and for people to go and be fabulous. So at one time, it's great as that. And also, it's this like fantastic time machine of like just an hour of amazing fashion and just really like crazy characters and really sweet moments as well, and really sad moments in it as well.
Really sad. Lots of sweet moments. Like the are they I feel like they're 14. It's like two 14-year-old boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we've got a picture of.
And actually the movie I think ends with them. I think they have the last quote. And it's just amazing. They're like, this is our family. Our family don't accept us for who we are. And they're 14.
Yeah.
It's just so crazy. And that still happens now. So although it is a snapshot of life then, that is also very much relevant in 2017.
And they're out at 3 a.m. those two.
Yeah. Yeah, thug life. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Especially in New York in the 80s that you'd be out.
Yeah, that's like, guys, what you're doing. At least
Terrifying.
go home, just be safe. One thing it's really interesting how a lot of people have traveled a long way to be in this one spot together. People, and it's mainly the Black community, it's mainly Black people, there's Latino there, and the smashing of white people as well. but they've all come from different areas of America to be, and South America as well, to be there together. So what do you think it is about Harlem and New York at that time that just let things kind of happen and percolate?
It's a safe space, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think. But you're asking why is it there?
Well, why?
And
Yeah, why?
I'm not sure it is
It
fully
wasn't
just.
safe though, particularly.
No.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at a minute ago, is that
It's kind of I mean, they're doing it, but at the same time,
I mean, I
It's-
suppose the ballroom is
yeah, it is the safe place there.
Yeah.
But I think they sort of mentioned about, you know, the realness is going out in the street and being able to pass for being a female. And a few of them talk about, you know, going out there and putting themselves in dangerous situations.
Yeah. If you can pass by and the untrained eye doesn't know you're gay, that's when it's realness.
Mm.
And that's really interesting because I hadn't really learnt the definition of realness. I've heard it on RuPaul's Drag Race and it's like, yes, fishy realness, which basically means like, yes, you look like a girl, which is gross. Hate that phrase, but that's what they say. And I just thought realness meant, oh yeah, you're doing a good job. I didn't realize it stemmed from
that, yeah.
this moment in time where these queens were like trying to just assimilate. And actually Dan and I have talked about that on our podcast because I do that in smaller ways, just at a bar. If I'm trying to be served or something, I would just be like, all right, cheers, mate. And I will kind of mask myself up, or with an Uber driver when he says, oh, have you got a girlfriend? It's easier to just sort of lie.
Yeah.
And that is realness, I guess.
Yeah.
If you can like just fit in with everyone else. And it's really horrible how we do that to ourselves. And it's just so shocking seeing that happening like 30 years ago as well. And knowing that it's the same.
And it's
almost.
a big, I mean, one of our friends, Gareth, he was telling us about how he came out, well, he was telling me and another friend, Ben, about how he came out when he was quite young, but he feels now he'll hate me for saying this, but he's in his early 40s. But he was saying about
Doesn't
how
look it though.
No, you don't look at Gareth. But he's saying about one really, really interesting, insightful thing for me is that he felt that often he'd be coming out multiple times to multiple people. He goes to like a B&B with him and his boyfriend, and the guy or the lady who's running the B&B goes, okay, so you'll be showing that you have different rooms, right? And go, no, we're a couple.
Mm.
And it's those little small interactions where he's kind of felt that he's coming out multiple times to multiple people.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a show at the Edinburgh Fringe this year by Hannah Gadsby, and she talks about how the closet isn't shame-proof, which I think is a really interesting thing to sort of know. And I think this film talks about that almost as well. Like you can see the shame that people are dealing with in themselves. Like that's why they are dressing up and voguing and expressing themselves in a safe LGBT space. Because they can't do that elsewhere.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
I just mouthed off mic. Did that make sense to Dan?
yeah, and I guess the ballroom is safe, but they're showing like immense bravery. I think just by
being
like,
in the ballroom. Yeah,
I genuinely wouldn't have thought that being black and being gay, so being black and being openly gay, was a thing that you were allowed to do in New York. Well, I mean, New York is more liberal than anywhere else, but I would have thought that the combination of those two things would be a death sentence practically in the 80s. So just being out on the street is dangerous.
When you're a man, I've got all the quotes. When you're a man and a woman, you can do anything. When you're gay, you monitor everything you do.
So what are your thoughts, Helen? You were really happy when James suggested this, and it was one of the films you said you wanted to see for a while.
It's just a documentary that I'd heard a lot about, and obviously I think most people kind of know it from obviously Madonna.
Voguing.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I would have heard voguing first.
Did
and obviously
Madonna appropriate voguing from this film? I guess she didn't. I guess that they came at the same time.
When did Vogue come out? When did Madonna's Vogue come out?
Well, this was 1990.
This came out in 91. 90, you say?
Yeah, 1991. But
because they definitely don't talk about Madonna in the film, do they?
No,
No.
they
But
they wouldn't have done. But it's
she's not. She's nothing to do with voguing.
But she
she's
would
just
have
come along.
watched what's gone on,
1990,
and
yeah.
I think the Willy Ninja. I think that his choreography may have had something to do with the Madonna, but yeah, I mean the moves and everything. She's obviously been. And she would have still been in New York at this time anyway, and probably would have spent some time with similar people.
Absolutely. And actually, they did discuss it, didn't they? Because they talked about how they got inspiration from the magazine, I think, in the movie.
Yeah.
So
Well, let's talk about the whole voguing thing, because I was kind of, when I saw this, my only inspiration, my only knowledge of voguing was Madonna, and also I watched this TV show on Netflix called The Get Down, where they had some people doing Vogue and some of the scenes in there. That's based in the same kind of era. And when you see Willie Ninja and the people there doing the voguing, you kind of think, the fuck is Madonna playing as? I just thought it was a poncy thing where you just kind of put your hands in front of your face.
Right.
But these guys are, it's a lot like breakdancing where you're like battling against each other.
Yeah.
And that is something you just don't get across in Vogue, the Madonna song. And it's just, for her, it's just a way to flounce around. And it's still a good pop song, but it doesn't really actually give an idea of what's going on in this movement.
Yeah, I'd agree with that because I didn't know what it was. And when they started doing it, I thought, oh, that's a bit like the Madonna video. So, yeah. But that's kind of Madonna, isn't it, really? Like, I wouldn't necessarily say appropriate, but she does very much take what's going on at the time.
Yeah.
That's true.
And incorporate it into...
She's on the trends.
She's on trend.
Hot trends. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. And I guess, in a way, Madonna's always been a very supportive icon to LGBT culture and stuff. So she would definitely have been in those clubs learning those moves and being like, yes, I'm going to
What is this?
bring this to the mainstream.
I'm having some of that.
I'm doing it. So big love to Madonna for that. But yeah, it's amazing. The moves are just insane. Can you do moves like that, guys?
No.
It is like breakdancing. You got it right there. It's like sort
It's
of
like a
also,
mix of yoga as well, because there's some of the like forearm stands they were doing. I was like, oh, that's really good.
That's very true. And
Yeah.
kind of like the crab, you know? The kind of crabbing across the floor in sort of weird. Yeah, it's truly cool.
Because I'm really kind of fascinated by this time in New York, because this was like the death of disco. This was when hip hop was kind of coming up, and one of the 4 elements of hip hop being breakdancing. So I knew a lot about that side of things. So it's and thank you again for suggesting it, because I just generally did not know that this side of New York was happening at the same time as. So it just seems like a massive bubbling cauldron of stuff happening in this one spot that has then gone worldwide on this side of the ballroom scene. Less so, I guess. But when you talk about RuPaul's Drag Race, certainly it's gone that way. Hip hop and breakdance has gone kind of worldwide. It'd be interesting to see how far the ballroom culture's gone. Do you know how much this is happening nowadays, or is it just in RuPaul's Drag Race?
I think actually it's really interesting that RuPaul's Drag Race took so many years to come out after this.
Sure.
It's crazy to me that there was such a big gap in terms of like mainstream drag culture in television. Well, that's not strictly true, obviously, because of people like, who did you mention earlier, Dan?
Dame Edna.
And all of that, and Paula Grady and stuff. But I think, I'm so sorry, what was your question?
Do you think it's still happening?
Yeah,
and has this had the same kind of reach as other
in the
things
real world, definitely. And it has always been happening. So and so many, and despite what Dan says about them making innuendos, like so many of these drag queens are, the reason why we have as many rights in this country as we do, because they put themselves out there and were themselves and showed the world, and it is still happening, and it's an amazing thing that we should all be proud of. Even if you're not in the LGBT community, it's still insanely important. And yeah, there are competitions, I think, happening. There are like drag idol competitions across the UK in different like gay bars and stuff, and people win money. They host the prides, they perform. There's a great place in London called the Two Brewers, and they have drag, I think, every night.
Is there still voguing?
Is there still voguing? No. I think voguing has definitely died. There should be.
Because you see people in Leicester Square, a lot of the performers in Leicester Square are breakdancers, but I've never seen any voguers.
Right. Well, you and me tomorrow afternoon.
I could not do any of the stuff that Willie Ninja does.
I'll bring my Alexa speaker and we'll play Vogue.
What? Alexa, play Vogue.
But what Helen was kind of saying earlier, I mean, I don't know, but I'm guessing that the sort of death of Soho must mean that there's less and less places for this kind of activity to go on. Am I right?
Yeah, I know.
James is laughing.
So, no, I'm not. I'm just like, oh, this is such a big question. And when Helen mentioned it, I was like, don't say anything. Don't say anything, James. I would, and Helen didn't say death of Soho.
I'm saying
I wouldn't say that it was the death of Soho.
It's just less places,
but there are less,
and obviously less safe places where it's kind of seen. Like people go, oh, if you go to Soho, there will be drag there. Whereas if you're kind of being pushed out into other areas where, like, we've never had drag here and we're not sure about that, it's becoming just, you've come so far to be accepted in one area to then be pushed out and in areas that, maybe don't want you there. It just seems like we're moving backwards and backwards, and people aren't really liking each other at the moment, so there's a lot of other things going on, and I don't know, I just think it's kind of a bit scary for a lot of people, and also it's just eroding a lot of what makes London exciting, really.
Variety there.
Yeah.
I think it's moved a little bit. I think there are there are other spaces in Dalston. There's a lot of pop-up club nights at different venues. Some of them not even gay venues, but just other venues. And they're opened up on like Pride to gay people. So I'm not an alarmist about Soho, whereas a lot of people I know would say like death of Soho is awful. I think we should protect our spaces and make sure that companies are not pushing people out. But I don't want to panic about it. I think there's a lot in Soho still. There could be more, definitely. But there's a lot in other places too. Vauxhall concerns me. That's one I'm probably more worried about because there's a lot of development there and quite a lot of gay spaces that are threatened, including the RVT, the Royal Vauxhall Tavern, which is amazing. But there's a lot of political characters who are looking out for those places and trying to make sure that they stick around. So we'll see what happens. GLY Late recently had an issue because they were trying to put the rent up. I can't remember the exact figure, but it was like 6 times or something crazy. Like someone wanted to put the rent up. So they've just recently applied to Westminster Council to extend their hours to later so that they can earn more money to afford to pay that difference in rent. So hopefully,
it's crazy, isn't it?
Sadiq Khan will allow that to happen because Westminster Council are quite funny about late licenses.
Well, Sadiq Khan's all right, isn't he?
Yeah, he's all right. He's a dude.
The nights are.
Yeah. He was there shaking hands with Mo Farah at the end of the Athletics. Helen, you said you did a bit of research about the film afterwards.
So I was doing a little bit of reading, and it was not well received by quite a few people. I think the main argument they had is that for a documentary, it made quite a lot of money, and some people felt that Jenny Livingston was a bit of a voyeur, and she wasn't really one of them, and quite a few of the people in it tried to sue for earnings, but it was obviously revealed that they'd signed like standard disclosures. So it's just interesting because we were also discussing how I'd really like to see a kind of where are they now, and a kind of an updated, revisited to the area and some of the people here, just to kind of see what has changed and if it is still going on, and how just I'm a little bit worried about some of them and how they're doing, and I kind of want to know if they're okay.
Yeah. That's awful that I didn't even think about the sort of business side of it or the contracts and stuff. And that's terrible. These people were
some people were saying that they kind of felt that she was kind of making a film project. They didn't realize that she was kind of making sort of a commercial venture, and she was sort of saying, well, I wasn't, and you could have asked me any time. And, from watching it, everyone on there is more than happy to be talking about what they do. And no, I didn't get that at any point. They didn't want to reveal anything. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And I think it was about the event that she put on, and the people that they had there to celebrate it weren't connected in the ways they wanted. So there's a lot of, even though it was made then, even now there's still a lot of beef, kind of mixed feelings about the film and the effect that it had and its legacy and how it's used as well.
There was a Katy Perry performance recently of Swish Swish on Saturday Night Live in America, and she had a load of RuPaul's Drag Race queens perform with her, and there was rumours going around that they weren't paid. And I don't know.
That's ridiculous.
I don't know if that's true or not. So, don't quote me on it, but that's awful if not. So, but also this kind of thing does still happen where people are just used in documentaries.
I was going to say, I'm not sure how that differs from a standard documentary. I know Willie Ninja must have made money out doing this because he's then gone on to do the catwalk stuff and
he does have that amazing earring.
Wow! I bought this in Japan, right? Why?
Well, I did think. Oh, shut up! We're all booking a flight to get out there and pick ourselves one up.
I think it's interesting that I think with any good documentary, the first thing you do after watching it is think,
Where are they?
where are they now? And immediately Google it. I watched this on the plane, so I couldn't do that. But yeah, I'd be really intrigued as to what's happened to some of them. Spoiler alert. We know what happens to one of them. And I was kind of thinking with any film set in the 80s involving gay people, like you're almost just waiting for someone or all of them to die of AIDS. And that's what I was just expecting to happen whilst watching it. And I guess it didn't happen, but someone does die of something else.
You can, like, so if spoilers are allowed, you can say it.
Well, she was killed.
It remains unsolved as well. They're just basically
Really? This is Venus, isn't it?
Yeah, Venus Xtravagnza.
Which it kind of demonstrates how dangerous the whole thing is and was and is.
Well, she told the story that she had to jump out of a window when she was working as an escort.
Yeah.
So her particular lifestyle was already kind of like, hey, be careful.
Yeah.
What you're doing. Obviously, no one deserves to get. I think she was strangled to death, which is horrific. But
I mean, again, this still happens now. Like, gay people are still killed. I think there was an attack in Trafalgar Square in central London, like a couple of years ago. Again, I don't have the facts ready.
And the sex worker as well. I mean, sex workers get attacked as well.
Yeah. Straight sex workers. Yeah. So it's just awful. It's just it's the same. I don't think anything is that different really, but luckily now we have a much more inclusive sort of system set up in workplaces and in government to an extent. So it will get better, I hope.
I think Willie Ninja's since deceased, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
What?
Yeah. I think
This is grave.
I was wondering, I thought if I was there, what house would I be in?
Yeah.
And I would have been a ninja,
Do you
certainly.
think you'd be ninja?
Of course I'd be a ninja.
I think I'd be is it LaBeija? No, wait, I've got that wrong.
All I remember is Xtravagnza and ninja.
Yeah, and there was
LaBeija.
LaBeija.
I'd be in LaBeija.
I mean, we haven't really talked about that. I mean, it's kind of like when you have a house at school, isn't it?
Yeah.
Except these are just like the best.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if you managed to get into one of those houses. And,
LaBeija.
Yeah.
James,
Hufflepuff.
what would you be?
Hufflepuff.
What would your name be? If you're a ninja, you're not Willy. You can't be Willy Ninja.
Jeff Ninja.
Jeff Ninja. Dan, I feel like you'd be in LaBeija with me.
Yeah. Let's just go with that.
Or Xtravagnza, perhaps.
I mean, I really like a lot of things, but particularly I like them there where they're sort of sitting at home making their own clothes.
Yeah.
And also when they sort of say that, they go out and it's not shopping. They go, well, it's stealing.
Guys, you're stealing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not something you could get away with anymore.
I don't advocate that bit. No, now you would just buy the outfit and take it back.
Yeah.
Leave the tag on.
Or you get it from a shop like Primark or
But
the
there's
American
something
equivalent,
quite
which is so cheap.
fantastic about these wonderfully glamorous men going into these department stores in the 80s.
Stealing dresses.
And stealing dresses or like taking them and, obviously they weren't made in man sizes. So just kind of like stealing the ideas and then making them at home to create these more fabulous versions of it. And it's just because that era in the 80s is so kind of weird anyway with wealth. And they sort of talk about, wanting to have all these, the 46 apartments and things like that. It's just these kind of strangers of the 80s kind of made bigger by their fabulousness.
It is such an 80s film as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, I watched Look Who's Talking recently, and the outrageousness of the 80s garments, and that was also striking.
Yeah, it is.
So
it's funny. Like, to me, I feel like the queens don't look particularly different to queens now.
No.
But what is different is the shots of straight people, like all the different like B-roll of the straight people. And it's like, God, your hair, like, so huge. How did you get on the subway, girl? And yeah, the like business executive suits that people wear.
With the shoulder pads.
Yeah, like so many shoulder pads. They're more shocking to me than what the queens are wearing, I would say.
I mean, this kind of went over my head a little bit. Some of the
or the 80s. That's why I asked how old you guys were to kind of set the kind of tone for the. I mean, Helen and I are a big fan of the 80s, and 80s films will be a strong part of our childhoods growing up. So it's interesting to see how that related to you, you guys? I mean, when you see like Crocodile Dundee, for example, or The Burbs, or what we Dirty Rotten Scoundrels we watched recently. Well, I was never a big. Was that an 80s film though?
It's kind of going into the 90s.
Yeah.
Late 80s, early 90s. Yeah.
My mum had a massive crush on Richard Gere, which I did not get growing up. And now I'm like, yeah, okay. I get it.
So I think, do you reckon it's popcorn time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, get
Popcorn
some popcorn.
time. How do we feel about popcorn? Is it number one in cinema-based snacks, or
Yeah.
Well, hang on. Is this sweet or salty?
This is sweet. This is pecan pie flavour from Popcorn Shed.
Great.
So
Go ahead.
grab a fistful, grab
Sponsor. Are we meant to eat it on the microphone?
Yeah, make it.
Yeah, popcorn is number one.
I do like ice cream.
This is weird.
ice cream and popcorn?
Oh,
Together,
that's the
that's
best.
a dream, actually.
In a bowl like that with just a load of Ben and
Yeah.
Jerry's.
I went to an Everyman recently and had an incredible
Perfect.
ice cream, which had popcorn and sweets and everything in it and biscuits. It was the most ridiculous, enormous thing ever. I was like wanting to send it down the aisle and back to share it with everyone. You know how people do that with sweets?
The problem with having ice cream in the cinema is you have to eat it straight away, so you've eaten it before the film starts.
It depends. Well, the Everyman's really good because, well, the one I've been to a few times, they've got the waiter service. So they bring it in.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So they bring it in like just in
Just
time.
before, yeah.
Is it not a bit dangerous though to eat ice cream in the dark?
Yeah.
Very.
I hadn't thought about that. Drippage.
Well, yeah, and just kind of sticky and
I tend not to miss my mouth, but it's you don't know what's falling off the spoon as you're
yeah.
spooning it in.
I don't know. I'm not really sure if I'm down with ice cream in the cinema myself.
Oh, an ice cream. I like ice cream in the cinema.
No, you've got to love ice cream. That's enough.
So yeah, do you like the popcorn sheds?
It's great, actually.
Brilliant.
Yeah. It's
Pecan
really
pie.
good. Pecan pie is interesting. It doesn't taste like that to me. It tastes like caramel.
Well, it is. Hold on. What's in there? Caramel popcorn with golden roasted pecans. So
I see.
If you could have any flavour popcorn, what would it be?
Strawberry and cream.
nice.
That's a bit weird, isn't it? Oh, God. I quite like cheese popcorn as well.
Yeah, I quite like
The savoury ones. So you're a savoury over a sweet.
Yeah, all day long.
Is that Worcester sauce popcorn? That's quite good.
Oh, that must be really good. What about a Welsh rarebit popcorn?
Yeah.
Oh, you're branching into like what the crisp territory and Walkers
That's
now, aren't you?
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Salt and vinegar.
You do get that.
That would be weird. You can't have salt and vinegar popcorn.
No.
Let's go to the
To
scoring
the
system.
scores.
Okay.
So this is our patented. It will be.
Oh my God.
Scoring system.
We've got spreadsheets. Dan's just gone.
Yeah, this looks like
It's serious. This is
this
serious
is
work. here.
serious.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
So it's out of 5, and you can have a 0 if you're that way inclined.
And you can get to
have
decimal
a
places.
decimal place.
Oh, really? Wow.
So the first one is the recommendability. So this is kind of how do you rate it? How likely are you to recommend it that someone watches it, and just kind of like your overall feeling.
5.
5.
I'm giving it a 5 on that. Dan?
Yeah,
I feel like it's just such an important moment.
I'd go with 5 as well, yeah.
All right.
Oh, we're flying through it.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go with a 5 as well. Just because, I mean, it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Obviously, time recording. It is on there. So if you haven't seen it, you should definitely see it, because otherwise, I don't really know how you'd kind of get hold of it. But
Well, this
yeah.
is what Netflix is really cool, and things like this are really cool to get hold of these things that you just simply couldn't see before.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Completely,
it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be gay to, enjoy it. And, it's such a unique portrayal of just human life at a particular time that, it's just really fascinating and really interesting.
I asked some of our followers what they thought,
And what do they?
and they've sent their
really?
3-word reviews. Gareth says,
Oh.
she owns everything.
Well, we can do the Twitter reviews at the end.
Oh, okay,
we'll do
sure.
the Twitter
Yeah,
reviews at the end. I'm going to go 4.5 here. Maybe I'm going to go 4.4 actually. And I think the only reason is I love documentaries, but I just think the structure wasn't that good for me. It's like 80 minutes long, this film, and I think I would have preferred maybe 10 minutes longer to give a bit more context to what was actually going on in the documentary.
That's quite a big burn, and I would argue that maybe if you think that, you should knock a bit more off. But I don't want you to. But I don't know if you're being like careful.
No, I think because when you see from this, I'm sure this documentary is so influential.
Yeah,
especially when talking about things like Madonna. But I know it's just because I know so much about the other side.
I think you're right, actually.
The other stuff was going on at that time, and I've read and watched so much about the birth of hip hop and the death of disco. This is the only documentary that does that for this scene.
Yeah,
I think that makes it super important, and that's why you should watch it.
But going back to what you just said, it doesn't really have. There's no voiceover.
No.
So there's no. I can understand what you mean.
And it doesn't need to be voiceover in the documentary, but I just think it needs to show things. So it took me a while to understand why they're showing like the big title cards with just houses, or it took me a while to understand what was actually going on.
Yeah.
In the documentary, and I think it would have been nice to also say, we're in Harlem. This is where.
That's true. You don't know where you are.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
So that's why I'm taking it down a few pegs, but I'd still
valid
recommend it to people. I'm going 4.4.
So next is the repeat viewing. So have we all seen it just the once, or have we seen it more?
Just once, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, once.
So
this morning.
That's fresh in your memory.
So for me, repeat viewing, I feel like I would probably give it a 2. I don't feel like I need to see it again.
Don't need to feel embarrassed about giving it a low.
Saying that, but yeah, I think it's a 2. I don't feel like I need to see it again. I would have it on in the background. Probably wouldn't pay much attention to it.
Done.
Yeah, I'm not a repeat viewer. Period. Like I don't generally tend to watch things more than once.
Come on,
because
what is your favorite film, and how many times have you seen it? And tell me why. Because
let me think. Okay, I've seen Shawshank Redemption quite a few times, but that's probably number 1. But that's different because that came out in an era when kind of before Netflix, and it would always be on TV. So you'd always just flick onto the TV and it would be on.
Yeah.
Whereas now, like it's stressful looking at my Netflix list as it is, wondering how I'm ever going to watch all this stuff, let alone without like, reincorporating stuff I've already watched. Especially documentaries, because with a documentary, you know what's happening.
Yeah.
And there's no there are stuff. There are things that you don't necessarily pick up the first time, but I feel like you got the gist of it once. So I don't want to bring down the overall score of the film.
Tactical.
But I didn't even think about that.
I would.
You're right. I do agree with you. Once you've seen a documentary once, you don't really need to see it again.
No.
Like, unless. No, I don't know. I can't think of a documentary I'd want to watch again. I liked that one about the whale. What's it called?
Blackfish.
Blackfish?
Yeah.
I was going to call it Bluefish, so I'm pleased that I asked. But I don't think I need to see that again. And that was an amazing film.
I have watched Louis Theroux documentaries like multiple times, I guess. But for like 15 years apart, and that length of time.
And this, if you were to watch this 15, can you see yourself watching this one more time in the next 15 years?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. So that's what maybe give it a 3.
3, sure.
Yeah.
Helen.
I mean, the struggle is real, isn't it? I mean, it is. I 2.5 straight down the middle. I'm not going to watch it again soon, but I might watch it again. I had a few issues with the Wi-Fi when I was watching it last night, so I might like to watch it without my terrible PlusNet Wi-Fi. You're terrible. I hate you. Ruining my film experiences. So yeah, I might watch it again, but I'm not going to watch it immediately.
I'm going to go for a 2. And yeah, for the whole thing, as much I love documentaries, but they are intrinsically less rewatchable.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with you with the kind of Netflix stress of, shit, I've not seen that yet. But then your favorite films, and you're kind of thinking, well, I know what happens now already.
Yeah.
Should I watch that again, or should I watch like things?
But also, your favorite film makes you happier than a documentary might. Like, I'm not sure documentaries, unless it's Planet Earth, in which case, wow, I will always repeat that because they're just so beautiful.
Mm.
So I know what you mean. I think You're right. I think we're right.
Yeah.
I think you and I.
I don't think
the right thing.
I don't think any documentaries have had high repeat viewing scores, have they?
We could probably check back. I don't know. No, I don't think so. We haven't really had that many documentaries.
Cowspiracy,
4?
Happy,
The Amanda Knox.
thing.
God, this is literally my list on Netflix.
Yeah.
All those films.
Well, we've got podcasts you can listen to and find out.
Find out what people think about them.
Yeah, no, I will.
Just Flixwatcher Pod at Twitter. At Twitter. At Twitter. That makes no sense. Small screen score. So how good do you think this works on the small screen? And do you feel that you wish you'd seen it in the cinema?
5, because unlike other films which are wasted on a small screen, this one is not in a widescreen.
Yeah.
But if you have an iPhone, and probably an Android does this too, you can double tap and it zooms in. Whereas, which is great. So I ended up watching it in widescreen on my phone. Whereas when I tried to watch it on the TV, and I'm aware you can change the aspiration anyway. But for me, I think it was much cooler just watching it on a train.
Okay. I mean,
I felt like it was more personal because it was in my hand.
And when we say small screen, we do mean not in a cinema screen, basically. So,
I thought you meant just like TV, on a tablet or
TV.
On a TV.
Yeah.
Right,
I mean,
sorry.
it's a little bit ambiguous, this one, but you've got the gist of it.
Yeah. So 5. Dan.
I think it's fine to watch. I'm not a fan of watching stuff on a small screen generally, but
when you say small screen, you mean phone?
Yeah.
So typically the smallest would be a TV, you'd say.
I have this thing where I only really watch documentaries at home, and every other kind of film I would want to see at the cinema.
Right.
So I think with that criteria in mind, it's fine to watch at home, but it would be better, because everything is better in the cinema. But I would give it a 5, I think. Yeah.
Helen?
I'm going to give it a 5. I had to watch it on my phone because that was the only way I was able to watch it. And I do not like watching things on my phone, really. But it's great. It's on Netflix. You don't need to do anything particularly special. Although you could have a little party and get some people round and maybe have like a quote along or something.
Yeah, a quote along. That would be so great.
Yeah. I mean,
okay, wait, can I up my repeat viewing to 5? So bear in mind that, like, taking in consideration.
If you want to, I don't think, by the way you describe it, it's not a 5, but if you want to bump it up a few notches, I'm happy to do that.
Can I put it to what's the top I can go up by? 3 or 4? 4.5? 3.5. 3.5.
You want 3.5 repeat viewing?
From 2 to 3.5. Yeah, because you're right about the quote along. Does anyone else want to go up on repeat viewing because of the quote along?
No. Small screen score, yeah. In fact, to the extent that I'd be pissed off if I'd seen this in the cinema. I don't think I need to see this in the cinema.
I think the shared experience would be, I think if this could be a potential Prince Charles moment. Yeah, I think there could be kind of that.
Do they do like Priscilla Queen in the Desert at Prince Charles with the drag?
I don't know.
It's one of those things that you could see. You could imagine a lot of people turning up with the costume because there's a Bugsy Malone, which I really wanted to go to.
Yeah, I think this is just kind of, it's that cult classic. It is, it's got a lot of praise from a lot of high sales. I think I was surprised that I'd just not seen it before, and but I think there's scope for kind of a shared viewing experience. I think that could be quite fun.
Yeah, I think it's got potential at the Prince Charles. I can see that.
So should I take it down a notch? Is that what you're saying?
No. Oh, no. Don't take its points away.
Engagement score, James. So how engaged were you whilst watching it? Do you feel the need to be like glued onto it, or was your mind wandering?
My mind wasn't wandering, but I'd say 4 because I think, like you were saying earlier about the documentary style, I found it difficult in places to sort of follow and for my mind to kind of catch up with it. So I would say, I'd say I was engaged, but I could have been more engaged, perhaps.
Dan?
I was fully engaged, so 5 out of 5.
5. Helen?
I'm going to go 4 because apart from the terrible broadband service, I just got a bit involved in sort of reading articles and kind of like finding out a little bit about people. So I wasn't completely glued to it, and kind of its style is a little bit loose anyway.
Yeah.
So you can kind of hear what's going on and kind of still see it while you're checking your phone. So I did do a little bit of just reading articles and finding out where people might be now when I was watching it.
I'm gonna go I'm going 3.5, I reckon, for yourself, but a bit stronger. I was wikiing people and finding out where they were and what was actually going on and what the houses meant and stuff like that, which I think you shouldn't have to kind of deviate away from that to understand it.
I had my subtitles on by mistake, but I actually quite liked that I did because it helped me to be more sometimes
Engaged
it's quite good having subtitles because you read more about what's going on. Yeah.
So we have an overall score of 4.18, 4.2, which is good.
That's pretty high.
Yeah, it's very high. So let's go to the Twitter from our side, and I'd be interested to see what your Twitter people have said. So we asked people, we're reviewing Paris is Burning. Have you seen it? If so, give us your 5-star rating, a short review, and retweet it. And we have Caviar, no last name, saying, yes, I loved it. It was very fascinating. Gets 5-star.
Caviar_diva.
And Gareth Dimolo at Gadimolo. The iconic documentary about New York ballroom scene, tragic and inspiring. Gave the word Vogue and inspired much of RuPaul's Drag Race. 5 stars. And someone just says, beautiful film. This is Ryanon. And what do your people say?
So Gareth also tweeted us saying she owns everything as a 3-word review. Nick loved it. Drag culture history, which I agree with. I think it's amazing seeing how we use so many of these phrases and don't even realize.
Yeah.
Even in pop songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So awesome, guys. I think that's a wrap, really. Can you just let us know again where you're from, what your names are, and you can give your individual Twitter handles if you want people to harass you there as well.
Yes, so you can find us. We are at Gay NonGay on Twitter and Instagram, Gay and NonGay on Facebook, and I am at Dan Hudson, and he's at I'm James Barr.
Yeah, thank you for listening to the podcast and for checking us out.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed James and Dan there talking about Paris is Burning. A very insightful documentary, which set the scene for a lot of things from voguing through to RuPaul. Do go and find them online. All the details for them are in the show notes, and we'll be linking to them in our blog. Thank you very much to our editors, as always. Toby is the main guy who helms and carves our voices, and also hellos to Tony, Jay, and Greg, and everyone else at Geo Productions who we haven't met yet. Of course, please big up Mighty People for the tunes you can hear now, and at the start of the podcast, please don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes, find us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod, and visit our website, flixwatcher.tv.